Well, hello and welcome to the Bumper to Bumper podcast. I am Dave Riccio here along with John Riggle, and together we are here to put you in the know when it comes to your car. And John, today I wanted to talk a little bit about a public service announcement. I want to bring up something that's very good for my wallet and very good for my retirement. But for you as the consumer, probably not as good. I joke with customers that I have a General Motors emblem on my altar at home,
Yeah.
which I don't.
Yeah.
But I hate to see people buy these really fancy trucks that cost a lot of money to buy and then have to come see me for a transmission when it was avoidable if they knew what we were talking about today.
Yeah.
So, John, and I'm referring to the 6L80 transmission.
Mm-hmm.
So for General Motors, 6L is 6-speed. L means longitudinal, so it runs to the front and the back of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then 80 is some sort of torque rating.
Mm-hmm.
So they got 6L80, then they have 6L90, which is going to be your 3/4 tons. But 6L80 specifically is what I wanted to talk about today. And I wanted to talk about something you brought up because you see it every day in the Bay.
Yep.
It's the thermal bypass valve. And everyone that's got a General Motors truck, maybe that be a Chevrolet, or maybe that be a GMC, or maybe it be a Suburban or a Yukon, and you've got the 6L80 transmission. The 6L80 came in, I think, right around 2010. They added this component called the thermal bypass valve, maybe in 14.
Yep.
And I feel like the early 6L80s didn't really fail. We didn't see them fail all that often.
Not as much. No, I don't think so. I think the failure rates were less on those.
And what was the change that you have a hunch on?
This little guy right here. Yeah.
I don't think it's a hunch.
Yeah. No, it's a thermal bypass valve. What these do is when the car is cold,
Mm-hmm.
it bypasses the transmission cooler in the radiator or the air-to-oil cooler up in the front, and just loops the fluid back into the trans to help get the trans up to temperature
Mm-hmm.
quicker. Unfortunately, they made, I don't know how many millions of these things.
A lot of them on the road.
There's a lot of them, right? Well, they're all bad. every single one of them fails. And, between torque converters and this, I think this is the number one or number two reason why we see the 6Ls in here. Torque converter failures are pretty common, but we get a ton of these that have been overheated, and these valves stick shut.
Well, so it's not a matter of if it's going to fail. It's just a matter of when it's going to fail.
It's a matter of when on these, yeah.
So there is the actual failure point where they're stuck shut. That means the transmission is bypassing all of its cooling resources, which is there's a line that leaves the transmission and goes up to the radiator,
Mm-hmm.
and a line that leaves the radiator and comes back to the transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a section of that radiator dedicated to the transmission. So there's no engine coolant in it, but it's just got transmission fluid flowing through it.
Yep.
And then you also said air cooler.
Yep.
So depending on the towing level of the vehicle or the option package,
Exactly.
they add an air cooler on there as well in some of the vehicles. So it'll go through the radiator plus through the air cooler, some
Yep.
just through an air cooler. So there's several different variations of it. But either way, that valve allows that flow of fluid. And the closest thing I could refer it to would be, in an engine, we've got a thermostat. Okay.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
thermostat, when you start the car, is shut. So there's no coolant flowing through the engine.
Sure.
So the engine can come up to operating temperature where it's designed to operate. And as soon as it hits that operating temperature, that thermostat will open or modulate as need to get the temperature at the right. They like to get it. In the old days, I used to say 210. I don't know what they're trying to run the modern cars at.
195 plus.
195 plus.
They don't turn cooling fans on until 226.
Okay.
So we've got, they're running quite a bit of temperature there.
So they like them to be warm. So they fail where they stick, and there's no coolant or no transmission fluid at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they also maybe fail in a way there's not enough fluid, right? Because there's got to be some level of modulation in that valve.
Yes. Well, again, it's just like a thermostat. It's a thermal wax element that as it heats up, it expands and moves a plunger in here or a valve in here that
Mm-hmm.
opens and closes. So, they can fail halfway. Yeah, there's no reason for it it doesn't actually have to fail completely shut.
And it may be what they did because General Motors has written a technical service bulletin in relation to this valve. and they've said, "Hey, we redesigned the valve, the one that you're holding in
Yep.
your hand. I don't know if that's a new one or an old one.
This is a new one.
It's a new one.
Yeah.
So the original one is stamped. We can find a casting number. It's not very easy to see.
Yeah, it's not actually a casting number. It is a number that's stamped on the flat end of the valve. The
Okay.
valve has a valve or just a cap on one end with
Okay.
a circlip in it. The other end is flat. On this flat end, the bad ones have a number 2 stamped on them.
Mm-hmm.
The good ones have a 70 stamped on them. And the other thing you can tell if one's been replaced, they usually have this sticker on them that says "Made in Canada with parts known to cause cancer in the state of California," so, or something like that. The new
Right.
ones have this little white sticker on them. That's the easy way to tell if it's been replaced, if that sticker's still there. But if it's not there, you have to look really close at the end. And sometimes I got to put a piece of paper on it and rub a piece of paper with a pencil to pull the number out
Yeah.
so you can see it. They're hard to see, but man. If you're driving around out here and you've got one of the old ones on there,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. It'll stick and it'll overheat that trans before you get a chance to realize what happened.
Not a matter of if, but when, for
Yep.
sure. But number 2 is some transmission shops or auto shops, because auto shops aren't as much in the know when it comes to transmissions. So
Mhm.
they're quick to say, "Oh, I can change out a transmission," but they don't actually know some of the ins and outs. And I mean, there's guys in auto shops that do.
Yep.
I don't want to just
Yep.
broad brush it. But we work on transmissions, I don't know, 100 to 1 over most general repair guys.
Oh, I see plenty of cars that roll in here that have had recently rebuilt transmissions in them and have the old valve hanging on the side of them.
Very common, very common. So if you're at a
like, oh.
transmission shop or an auto repair shop and you own one of these 6L80 transmissions and you say, "Hey, what about the thermal bypass valve?" Now there's another fix for these that I don't know that I quite agree with, and it's called the old bypass it. So they make a kit. There's some people out there that make a kit that actually maybe they hollow that thing out. I don't-
There's a whole bunch of kits out there. There's different ways the guys are doing them. My issue with the 6L is the front pump in the 6L.
Mhm.
I think the front pump is one of the weak places. The thing just barely has enough pressure and volume
Run that transmission.
to run this transmission. We know that because of the clearances in the front pump. Those front pumps, that clearance spec is like 1 to 3 thousandths clearance in that pump. That's tight.
Mm-hmm.
That is nothing. And we know that when they get out 2 thousandths over that,
Mm-hmm.
they shift weird. They come up with the 2-3 flares. They do all kinds of weird stuff. And so that pump is borderline to start with. So I don't want to do anything to this trans that changes the amount of fluid flowing through that trans for really any of the passages. We want to be careful, you know. There's a lot of valves out there that I got to look at and go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. if
Everything's
that's
got a
good idea."
trade-off. Everything's got a trade-off, and some people, I call it the farmyard engineering. They don't necessarily do the math on this. Hey, this will fix this problem.
Yeah,
But anytime you fix a problem, you may create a new problem that you didn't foresee.
yeah.
And so there's somewhere along the line, and maybe it wasn't the best engineering, but some engineer took the time to design this valve in for whatever reason. We don't know, but we can certainly
And here's kind of the way this all works. We design and build the hardware.
Mhm.
When we're done with the hardware, then we trim it with our software, right?
Right.
So all of these little changes, if we make little changes after the fact,
Mhm.
we may make a change mechanically, but we don't know how that affects the software.
Right.
So we have to be really, really careful. And they blew it on this. This one, it was the execution on it. The things
Right.
just
They
didn't
used
work
the
good.
execution on it.
They rethought it. The new ones don't seem to be an issue once we've replaced it with the new ones. But again, they're building. They probably order 1 million of these at a time.
Oh yeah.
You know, at the beginning of their production, man, they're
Yep. Stamping them out
cranking this
like
stuff out. They know they got to do 1 million of these. Well, yeah, there's a lot of them out there. So I'm a little sketchy with trying to make modifications without knowing all the intricacies of it. And there's just so much little stuff. I really hate to do that. This isn't a super pricey piece.
No, it's not.
You know,
It's not.
people sometimes shop for value in the wrong pieces. We used to see it with PCV valves. PCV valve used to cost 99 cents right
Right.
straight from Ford. You could get one for 69 cents in the off brand. they look identical, but they had two different flow rates.
Right.
And it would make the motors do weird stuff, and it was hard for people to spot, guys.
Right.
I would
Like
run across this
PCV
all the
works,
time.
right? But you're not doing a volume test on it necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. So little things like that make all the difference in the world. Now, the other thing we have to remember on this, not all of the 6Ls use this.
Okay.
6L90s, we don't see these. They didn't use them on the 6L90s. Oddly enough, we see less 6L90s than we do 6L80s.
We barely see them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
rare.
I mean, once in a while, but not. They go in the heavier trucks, so they get worked a little harder. But we don't see as many 6L or as many of the 90s as we do the 80s. And the new 8-speed also have these. There's no TSB on them. There's no update. But I'm starting to
See them fail.
Yeah, I've got like the third one I've seen in the last 2 weeks in here.
Right.
That just failed. So I'm waiting for that one to come through. But for right now, man, if you got your car out there and you're not sure about this, if it's ever been changed, and you've got one of those 14 to like 19 GM trucks with a 6-speed, find somebody to check it, see if it's been replaced.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll state on the 14s, and we think that's roughly the first year of that, when you change that valve out, you have to change the lines that go with it.
Yeah.
So the style of connection from the cooler line to the thermal bypass valve changes with the updated piece.
Yeah.
So they didn't remake that style. They just supersede it to a new design. So you got to change out the cooler lines as well.
And just to be clear, this isn't in the trans.
Nope.
It's just bolts right on the side of the transmission. Got a couple of seals here, a couple of seals for the lines. One bolt that goes through the center, one bolt that holds the lines on. I mean, it's quick, easy. It's not a big deal.
Not super complicated. But General Motors is not the only one to do that. So Ford, sometimes you'll see them put a thermal bypass in the valve body. I'm trying to think of some different model of transmissions. They've all have something.
Oh, no, they're all over the place. Yeah, you'll see these thermal valves. You'll see them on the coolant side of the coolers too. On a lot of that, like the Nissans on the on their coolers to control the coolant flow through the transmission cooler.
Right.
They'll control the coolant flow through there, and they may have an internal bypass. The Fords, the 6R.
6R80s, yeah.
6R80 has the thermal bypass inside the transmission.
Yep.
We see fewer failures with those. There's kits out there. There's all kinds of aftermarket stuff out there to bypass those and replace those too. So I'm a little sketchy on that. I like to go back, keep the stuff all OE.
And I know the 6L80, it does get a bad rap, and we certainly love 6L80s. But I don't think it's actually a horrible transmission.
I'm thinking it's better than the 8s and the 10s so
It's
far.
better than the 8s and the 10s so far, yeah. So, and that's what we see in the transmission business is that we see just different waves of transmissions come through. So 6L80s, when they first started, failing, we're starting to see them in 10, 12, 13 in those years.
Yep.
And then the design of the transmission changes a little bit. There's a whole new set of problems that show up. And so things just come. And the other thing I'll say about that transmission while I'm thinking about it is that that regulator valve in the pump. How many times do we see that thing? It's hogged out. I mean,
They're all worn out.
It's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. It's just, So that's the other part of it. And you're talking about the pump maybe just being at the bare limit of what it needs to be. When that valve wears out, when you change something else in the system, and then GM loves to modulate torque converters. They've been doing that for years, and I think they overmodulate them a little bit, but
they cover up a lot of
a lot of things.
A lot of sloppiness. I'll just call it sloppiness, But
for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks for joining us. This was specifically a public service announcement for anybody with these GMC or Chevrolet trucks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Well, hello, I'm Dave Riccio, your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast, and I would like to thank you for tuning in. If you want one of your car questions to be answered on our podcast, tap the link in the description for a chance to have your question featured. And while you are there, we would love for you to like and subscribe to see more Bumper to Bumper podcasts in the future.